Okay. So, all right. So I believe that we're live now. Um, I just want to take a minute to say hi, everyone. Really great to have you here tonight. My name is Annabelle Santiago, Grassroots Coordinator with the Coalition for Social Justice. And thanks for joining us for our second weekly 30-minute Know Your Rights series. This series is brought to you by a number of organizations and coalition partners. Um, and we've come together to extend our reach and get you the information you need in this moment. We will be covering a variety of issues week to week, and you can catch us on Facebook Live or register through Zoom, which you can find on the event page. But a huge thank you to all the organizations and groups that are making this happen. And the way this will work is we'll start with a 10 to 15-minute presentation, and we'll have some time for question and answer towards the end. If you are on the Zoom call, I am going to keep you muted until we get to questions. And also know that this is being recorded and we are on Facebook Live right now, and this will be distributed for later use. And I'll be fielding questions through the Facebook Live and through the chat function on the Zoom call. You can also use the raise hand function to ask your question. So today we have Elizabeth Whiteway with the Greater Boston Legal Services with us here tonight, and she will be covering the topic around unemployment insurance. Elizabeth, I'm so excited to have you here tonight with us. I'm not going to take any more of the time since I know that you have a lot to cover, but welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Annabelle. I explained to Annabelle that the topic is pretty broad, very detailed, and normally we would do a training in about 3 hours. So I've condensed the training we normally do to make sure people have the basics that they need right now because of the pandemic and generally. So I'm going to share my screen. There is a PowerPoint presentation with a lot of detailed information. I'm going to go over the slides, but I want to assure everybody that the slides will be available to you after the presentation. So don't feel any anxiety about needing to take notes as we go through it. And if a question comes up and we need to go back to a slide, we will. So I'll start right now. And here we go. So welcome to the Know Your Rights, and thank you, Annabelle, for the nice introduction and also for asking me to participate. How do we navigate the unemployment insurance system, and how do we access COVID-19 benefits? Okay. Okay. I'm sorry, I apologize. We're going to get this all set. Here we go. Okay. What is unemployment insurance? A lot of people think of benefits programs as being means tested, like SNAP benefits or TFDC, welfare cash assistance. That's not the case with unemployment insurance. It's a program that you and your employer has paid into, and therefore, when you're unemployed, you're entitled to it if you've been receiving W-2 earnings, okay? It was created as part of the New Deal in 1935 when we were in a Great Recession. It feels really familiar right now. It was actually a depression. Anyway, who's eligible for unemployment insurance? People who are either totally or partially unemployed, and they're unemployed through no fault of their own, like they had to quit for a compelling reason, or they were discharged, but it wasn't for any really big, violation of a policy or anything like that. You also have to have earned about $5,100 and worked approximately 15 weeks in the past 12 months. And then this is the kicker. You've got to be capable of, available, and actively seeking work, including part-time work with reasonable accommodations. And immigrants must be authorized to work during the period that they're claiming benefits in order to be found capable of work. I'm going to touch on the immigrant issues next. So if I'm a non-citizen, how does this work? Well, the first question is, during the period of time that I was working, was I authorized? There are 3 different ways that I could be, right? I could be lawfully admitted for permanent residency at the time of work, lawfully present to work, or permanently residing under color of law. Then during the period of time that I'm claiming benefits, I need to show my work authorization. Okay, and that's about saying to the Department of Unemployment Assistance, absolutely, I'm able to work, I'm authorized to work here. So what is it that DUA does to assess whether or not a non-citizen is eligible for unemployment? They use this program that's connected to ICE where an individual's authorization is verified. Once somebody submits those documents, they continue to claim and DUA must pay them benefits because they've satisfied that first requirement. They've submitted the documents. Sometimes secondary documents are required. And if you've got either somebody in your group that you're working with or you have an issue that arises where your claim is affected by immigration status, feel free to contact the Greater Boston Legal Services Immigration Unit or the Employment Unit. We'll try to help you out. How are benefits determined when I'm claiming unemployment? It's about half of your gross weekly wages, okay? And the cap is set at $823 right now, gets adjusted every year based on increases in state average wage. And then I get an extra $25 a week for each child. So an example would be if my weekly benefit amount is $200 and I have 5 children, my dependency allowance is going to get capped at $100. But if I have 4, I'll get the $100. Anyway, that way I get $300 a week, $200 a week in benefits and an extra $100 for my 4 children. Now, when you're looking for a job and you're claiming UI and you're telling the DUA, the Department of Unemployment Assistance, that you're looking for a job, do you have to accept any job that's offered to you? No. You only have to accept a job that's suitable. And this slide covers a whole bunch of examples of jobs that would be considered not suitable. And right now, in the middle of COVID-19, if you were offered a job where your health and safety or that of your family members would be placed at risk by going to that job site, that would not be a suitable job. So keep that in mind. Detrimental to health, safety, or morals, doesn't fit your training and experience, commuting distance is excessive, the pay, benefits, and hours are worse than your previous employment, on and on. You can read the list. And I just want to lift up for now the fact that if there's any domestic violence risk in an employment situation, you can also decline that job as well. Can you work part-time without losing the entire weekly UI benefit amount? Yes, you can. And this is a great check on what's people understand as cliff effects, like where you go from all to nothing, right? So I could be working part-time, and let's go back to an example like, okay, my weekly benefit amount is $300. If I earn $100 a week from part-time work, I get to keep all $100. Once I go over the $100, my benefit amount gets reduced dollar for dollar. A quick way to think about it is you can earn just below 133% of your weekly benefit amount. Be sure to report any earnings to DUA. They do wage matches with the Department of Revenue. And if you're found to have received benefits at a time when you didn't report accurately your earnings, there will be an overpayment. And if they find fraud, they will not let you waive it. Is UI taxable? Absolutely. It's wage replacement. DUA gives you the option to either have them withhold your state and federal income tax, or you decide you want to pay it at the end of the year or pay it at tax time. That's your call. They will withhold 10% for federal and 5.05 for state, and they'll send you the 1099-G, or you can get it online. A lot of the things I've said about regular UI also apply to the COVID-19 programs, but not everything, okay? Where the regular UI rules apply, I will explain. Okay, so what happened? Well, we got hit with COVID-19. Congress did actually act as quickly as they could, and they created special programs to address the crisis. So the first that I think a lot of people are very aware of, because it's been in the news a lot lately, is the $600 extra a week that everybody who, whether you're getting regular UI or one of these pandemic UI benefits, right? You're getting the extra $600 a week because there's a recognition that people need this money right now. And it's part of keeping the economy going, right? So it's running out this week. We don't have a bill right now to replace it, just what the House proposed. The Senate didn't go along with it. Another program is pandemic unemployment assistance, which is an unemployment assistance program during the pandemic that is for people who are not traditionally eligible for UI, or some people who traditionally are but don't meet the requirements. Okay. And then there's a program called PEUC, the Pandemic Emergency Unemployment Compensation Program. And this is one where people have exhausted their regular UI. Okay. They apply online, and then extended benefits, which are going to kick in August. And again, think of it this way. They're stretching the safety net out as far as they can. They recognize we're in a really dire situation here. So I'm going to do a quick overview of PUA, which is this program for folks who aren't eligible for regular UI. And these are people who are self-employed. They may have a mix of W-2 and 1099 earnings. They may not have enough W-2 earnings to qualify for regular UI, so they apply for PUA. Or maybe they're people who never really are normally eligible, like AmeriCorps workers, Peace Corps, clergy, religious workers, and part-time people with insufficient earnings. The traditional UI applicant who might fit into this program would be somebody who, as I said, didn't have enough earnings, or they were disqualified from regular UI before COVID-19. So how do you figure out what you are entitled to with the pandemic unemployment assistance? As an initial matter, when people apply, they're going to get the minimum amount of $267. Then DUA looks at whatever you report on your earnings, including what they figure out from the tax authorities or any W-2s you supply, et cetera. And then they'll adjust your weekly benefit amount accordingly. Okay. And then again, the maximum amount would be $823 a week. And then you get that extra $600, which is really great. So what is it that you basically have to report under oath, you certify, that would make you eligible for pandemic unemployment assistance? So think of it this way. These reasons are all COVID-19 related. I won't read them all here. You can read them yourself later when you look at the PowerPoint, but basically think about it this way. For some reason, right now, I'm not able to work and it has to do with COVID-19. There are exceptions to that general statement, but you can look at these specific examples about being diagnosed, having a child who's been diagnosed, or a family member, your child can't go to school because of COVID-19, et cetera. And then even including some people who don't have a work history. Like I had one client who was offered a job and then the offer had to be rescinded because of COVID-19. So she applied for PUA. So you're not eligible for PUA, however, if you can telework with pay, if you're receiving paid sick time or other paid time off. You may be eligible for partial benefits though, if you're basically your work hours are reduced, okay? But if you have the opportunity to work from home and voluntarily say, I'm just not gonna do it, you won't be eligible for PUA. In addition, folks cannot quit a job simply to get UI. And then this slide covers the weekly certification that you have to give DUA to maintain your eligibility for PUA. And these reasons pretty much mirror the application itself. So again, you would certify like, oh, is my child still not able to go to daycare because of COVID-19? Okay. This is a flow chart that DUA has on its website that is really helpful for guiding people and helping them decide, like, am I able to, should I be applying for regular UI or PUA or PEUC? I'm not sure what to do here. So This illustrates this flow chart illustrates a decision tree that I just checked the website this evening before we started to make sure, I had the most recent info. And the state's website is really good. It'll take you through decision making and direct you to the right program. I mentioned this to Annabelle earlier, and I want to emphasize it here. There are people who've applied for PUA who should have applied for UI, and then they got approved for PUA and they were receiving money, and then DUA later figured out, like, wait a minute, you actually were eligible for regular UI and you're in the wrong program, and now you have an overpayment. You don't want to be in that situation. You want to avoid it if at all possible. The system at the Department of Unemployment Assistance for people who don't speak English is less than perfect. Greater Boston Legal Services has brought class action litigation on language access, and as a result, some improvements have been made. The other languages listed here, aside from English, are the languages for which DUA is making applications available to people, okay? These languages were prioritized because of people's answers on the census. So it's putting in a plug for answering the census here. So if you're using a computer or a laptop, the regular UI application is only available in English. But if you're using a smartphone, they've created a new portal, which is helpful, and it's Spanish, Portuguese, Vietnamese, Chinese, and Haitian Creole. And then the PUA application is English and Spanish only. And then finally, if an individual lacks English language proficiency and can't get through, you can use the phone to try to get through. And then you could also contact a legal services organization. Throughout the Commonwealth, there are civil legal aid programs that are trying to help people who are having trouble accessing UI. And I just have a couple slides here that you may want to explore more when you have access to the PowerPoint. These are resources on the UI law. Okay, I want to sort of lift up the Unemployment Advocacy Guide, which has been drafted by my colleague Monica Hallis and somebody at Mass Law Reform, Margaret Monsell, and the DUA website, and of course the Legal Services website. Other COVID-19 resources include, again, this updated fact sheet on UI and PUA that was put together by legal services folks, the DUA website, Department of Labor materials on paid leave, the pandemic assistance at Federal Families First Coronavirus Response Act. The Massachusetts Attorney General has done a great job providing people with support and resources who are being forced to return to work. And then finally, MassCosh, who will be presenting next week, has a wonderful worker safety toolkit I encourage people to take a look at. And I'm happy to answer any questions that folks may have.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. We actually have a few questions lined up here in the chat. The first question here is, can someone who has a felony or a CORI be eligible for PUA or UI or any other unemployment benefit?
So only if the felony, the CORI, or any other record, like it's an impediment to your ability to work. But with CORI reform, I've had plenty of clients who have records, and they've so no, there's no felony bar. It's not like food stamps. SNAP.
And just the second question was, how can you prove that the client didn't quit because they knew about the PUA being available?
Well, so when a person files a claim for unemployment insurance, their employer is made aware of it, okay? The employer has an opportunity to respond to DUA's questions about the work history. So if there's a disagreement between the employer and the employee, then that gets adjudicated, right? And once it gets adjudicated, they make a decision, and either the employer or the employee may choose to appeal that determination if they don't agree with it. Okay, I don't know if that answers the questions, but I think, there's also a question with the PUA about folks maybe who are 1099 and I would say it is a bit of an honor system, but a person has to have an earnings record. And I think that there is, a sense that a lot of people, certainly unless you're getting 100% wage replacement, there's an incentive to get back to work. The $600 a week, some people as a policy matter may say, hey, wow, that's $600 a week, like for people who might be benefiting more financially being on unemployment because of the additional benefit. But anyway, I would just encourage people to be honest, and they have to certify. If you make a misrepresentation on the federal program, the PUA, or even in regular UI, and it's later discovered and they make a finding of fraud, you don't want to have to deal with it, believe me. It's a criminal offense on the federal side. It's a criminal overpayment on the state side. The attorney general will bring you into court. The penalties and the interests are ridiculous, and they can be up to 50% of the principal amount overpaid. So yeah, it's nasty. If it's an innocent mistake, or somebody had a cognitive impairment, like I had a client who was cognitively impaired and we got rid of the fraud finding because of that.
And then someone on Facebook, well, first on Facebook Live, I see Deb. Deb is saying, thank you for taking the time to do this, Elizabeth. So little
Hey,
shout
Deb,
out to Deb there.
happy to be here.
And a question from Pamela. Where will this PowerPoint be made available?
So
yeah, go ahead.
yeah, I'm happy to let the CSJ decide the best platform. If you want to post it on your website and then create a link there, if that's helpful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So we've been putting most of the resources up on our website. You have to do a little bit of updating, but if you go on the Coalition for Social Justice .org website, you'll be able to find it there. Also, this live and this Zoom call is being recorded, so you will have the video to refer back to if you need to. And it's going to stay up on Facebook if you need to rewatch. But yeah.
Yeah, so I think if folks can be given the link to CSJ's website and you don't mind posting it on your website, that would be great.
Yeah. And then I have another question here, Elizabeth. I am currently collecting DUI, and at the end of the month, at the end of the next month, I will be finally able to return back to work, but only for 4 hours per day, a few times a week. Can I still get any money help?
Yes, so that's the partial UI situation. And there's a recognition that, people need support while they return to work. So anytime you have some work, but you're not employed full time, continue to claim UI, but just be sure you report your earnings each week. You have to report the gross earnings. And even, for example, like you go to report on a Sunday night and maybe you're not going to, well, you should get paid before then. But anyway, just be sure you report it accurately.
All right. I think that's it for questions.
Yo tengo otra pregunta.
Oh, sí.
Por ejemplo, las personas de que estuvieron en un hospital, ¿verdad? Y que por motivos de enfermedad no pudieron aplicar al desempleo. Y pasó el tiempo, pasó ya más de un mes. Esas personas pueden hacer un reclamo con el desempleo.
Sí, puedo repetirte la pregunta, a ver si la tengo bien. Que aplicaste por desempleo y no te han dado ¿cómo es?
Una persona que yo conozco, ella se enfermó del coronavirus, ¿verdad? Okay. Entonces estuvo un mes hospitalizada. Entonces,
déjame traducir a lo que tú vayas. So she's saying that someone she knows was sick with COVID and they were hospitalized. Puedo seguir, Jenny.
Estuvo hospitalizada alrededor de más de un mes.
For a month
Entonces,
hospitalized.
entonces ella no estuvo, ¿cómo se llama? Accesible para llenar lo del desempleo. Entonces mi pregunta es, ¿ella puede aplicar después de ese tiempo?
Okay. So she's saying that her friend was hospitalized for a month and she wasn't able to fill out the unemployment paperwork. Can she still apply for unemployment even though it's been a month?
Yes, apply. And you can get what's called retro benefits. So the past benefits, the benefits for when you would have applied.
Sí, so ella, la amiga tuya puede aplicar y hasta le dan el beneficio, el benefit, el desempleo de las semanas que ella estaba tú sabes lo que quiero decir. Sí. Okay. Sorry, I have to keep turning my video off because my internet keeps going in and out. But this was really, really great, Elizabeth. Thank you so much for being here with us tonight. I want to close this out because I see that we're at 7 p.m. And on behalf of everyone on the Zoom call and on Facebook Live, thank you, Elizabeth.
Oh, you're so welcome.
If people have any questions, you can refer and contact Elizabeth directly. She had shared her email earlier on during the call on one of the slides. And also, please visit our COVID resource. Right now, I'm going to put it in the chat and I'll put it in the lives as well. But it's tinyurl.com/mass MA COVID rights. And again, I'll put that in the chat because it is case sensitive. And there's one in English and one in Spanish live right now. By the end of the week, we'll have more of them available in other languages. So thank you, everyone. Have a really great night.
Okay, have a great day.